Hello, so I have to start again. A slight interruption. Sorry about that. So just to begin, I'm looking at judicial corruption in Kenya, and I'm looking. I want to start with an example. There's a report that's out it's called the Organization Review Report, the Judiciary Organization Review Report, and it says that Mombasa has 157 staff members, whereas it should have 105. So there are 52 extra people there, and people are okay. I am wondering, where did these 52 people come from, and who's paying them, and was there an oversight in terms of the recommendation, or did somebody feel at that level in Mombasa that they should have more people than recommended? So from that point, I need to go to now. There's a report that's out. Again, I've mentioned it, the Organization Review Report, and it will bring some changes in the judiciary, and these changes we'll see them as time goes. And I just wanted to point out a couple of another reports. This report was in 2016 to 2017, again released by Maraga. This is what it said. We have 158 judges, 421 magistrates, and 55 kadhis spread across the country. So yeah, that means that the population, in terms of one magistrate to the number of people in terms of ratio, is 1 to 115,000. So that's a very, very significant figure, and something that we might need to work on, because one magistrate cannot handle that high number of people. And again, because of this high number, because of this skewed ratio, then we have pending cases in court, a lot of pending cases in court, because the same report, the 2016 to 2017 report, said that there are 533,350 pending cases in court across the country. That's a whole load of cases, and that's a whole load of people who are there involved in those cases, and then there are families behind those people who have brought those cases to court or who have been brought to court. So we might need to check on that, because it's affecting a huge number of people, and that is why the judiciary is so important. That's why it's the third arm of government, because it affects a high number of people. So just to continue, justice delayed is justice denied. We all know that. And to give an example, I want to give the Sharon Otieno example. Sharon Otieno was killed on September 3rd. Arrest related to her death started on September 4th, right? But the hearing of that case, the pre-trial hearing, will be on February 2019, February 14th, 2019. That's a long way off. And the actual hearing will begin in May 6th, 2019. So I think that's a bit sad, because the family now has to, first it's trying to heal whatever happened, it's trying to heal. And then at the same time now, next year, during the pre-trial, open those wounds a bit, put some salt on it. And then on May 6th now, we open it up and then have the family relive what happened to their daughter. And at the same time, there are powerful individuals implicated in this case, and they have resources. So between now and February, how can they use these resources? They can use them to ensure that the case somehow fails, or they can use them wisely. But anyway, the thing is that there's a lot of time for a lot of things to happen, and that's what I'm saying. And that is why justice delayed is justice denied. People need justice, and they need it swiftly, so that they can move on with their lives and do some other things, because that's not whatever that happened to them is not what defines their life, and they need to now to jump up and move to something else. So anyway, I want to talk about something that Willy Mutunga said back in the day. That was in October 2011. He had just become Chief Justice 4 months before that, and he said this: he had found a judiciary that was frail in structures, which is very sad, and perhaps that is why they're trying that this review is taking place, this organizational review is taking place, so that they can, perfect those structures. So thin on resources, and I think that one we understand, because there's one magistrate per 115,000 people. They need more resources. The judges need more staff, Paralegals are required, more of them. Prosecutors, even, there are more. They just need more. And then the judiciary is low on confidence. So the judicial office, they themselves are low in confidence, and we have to put our confidence in them, because otherwise who would arbitrate over our cases, over our interactions? And perhaps our confidence in them is misplaced. I think we have to have confidence, whether it's misplaced or not. We just have to, otherwise the entire system will break down. Remember, it's the third arm of government, and if you do not have confidence in it, then it's similar to not, it's even worse than not having confidence in the president, because the president is only one out of an entire executive. So anyway, he also said that it's deficient in integrity, which I'll touch on. It's weak in public support, perhaps because people don't feel that they get justice from it, perhaps because it is delayed for so long. So that's also part of the reason. And then here's the part that really caught my attention. Willy Mutunga said, "We have found a judiciary that was designed to fail." So here's the Chief Justice saying that the judiciary is designed to fail. And here we are going to court thinking that there will find success, there will find justice, there will find a cause for, we'll be able to say that yes, we did things, and yes, it was right, and yes, I will be vindicated based on what I did. And here is the Chief Justice saying that the judiciary was designed to fail. Is it still designed to fail? So judicial corruption, basic definition: judge taking money so that the case can go as per whoever paid that cash. He who pays the piper calls the tune, right? So a former chair of Transparency International said that judicial corruption is the voice of the innocent going unheard, while the guilty act with impunity. So that's what he said, and that's true. And I wanted to give an example of what happened in Kenya. I'm not saying that these parties were guilty. I'm just saying that if they were guilty, then this is a perfect example of where the voice of the innocent go unheard. Geoffrey Kiplagat accused Kidero back in 2016 that Kidero paid $2 million to Philip Tunui. Philip Tunui was a Supreme Court judge at that time. And what Kiplagat was trying to explain was that Kidero gave out that money because he wanted the case to go his way. You see, Kidero had vied to be as the governor of Nairobi, right? He was vying against Waititu. And then he won. Let me get the figures. He won by 692,483 votes. Waititu got 617,000. So there's only a sort of like a disparity by 70,000 votes there. Jib Nambaru got 52,000. We'll talk about that. So anyway, Waititu went to court because he felt that his case had been stolen. And when they went to the High Court, the judge threw out the case. And when they went to the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal said, yes, Waititu, you're right. Kidero is no longer governor because his election was not valid, right? So they nullified that election. So Kidero had one more chance, and that is the Supreme Court. And according to Kiplagat, Kidero found an ally there by the name of Philip Tunui, who Kidero would bribe perhaps with $2 million. I'm not saying that he bribed, but according to Kiplagat, I'm speaking according to Kiplagat. So anyway, so that case, eventually it went Kidero's way and he became governor of Nairobi. So what was at stake at that time? And here's what I'm calling innocent. Nairobi has a population of around 3.5 million people. If you take the wider Nairobi, that's 6.5 million people. And their job was just to... These people have their job was to vote. That was their job. As soon as you do that, then you go home and wait for the results. But it seems that there are other factors at play. That, not saying that Kidero bribed, but perhaps bribing is possible, right? And so the lives of 6.5 million residents would be affected by a decision of a single judge, swayed by a single person. Lives of 6.5 million people. Their voice in terms of who they elected would go unheard because of one judge swayed by one person, right? Well, the guilty act with impunity. So let me give an example. Like, here's just some of the services offered by Nairobi, right? By Nairobi County. It's supposed to do planning for the city. That's one of the things that it's supposed to do. It's supposed to handle, let's say, our schools. It's supposed to handle our transportation, our highways, our sewerage, and it's supposed to approve our buildings. So when buildings come down, when buildings collapse, this is part of the reasons. The innocent who are there, because they're not engineers, they don't know how long a building should take before it's fully erected. They don't know how to recognize structural integrity in a building or the lack of it. So they're just innocent, and just because of the decision of one man swayed by another man, bad things might happen to them. And also, what is at stake? Nairobi County, in the 2017-2018 budget, it had a budget of 35.9 billion. That's its budget. So a lot is at stake. A lot is at stake. So imagine 35.9 billion and a bribe of 200 million. What's that? At that time, Kidero said that Nairobi County collected 14 billion annually. If you can bribe 200 million and you get to control a budget of 14 billion, it doesn't seem that bad. Again, if you bribed. So anyway, I just want to go back to judges, right? Because I feel that you now see where the voice of the people go unheard. Because the lives of 6.5 million people might be affected by one man swayed by one person. So anyway, in August 2013, we had 11 judges of appeal, 44 judges of the High Court, and 254 magistrates, right? 154 judicial officers at that time were implicated in corruption. And of these 152 judicial judges, 5 of them were Court of Appeal judges. So we have 11 judges Court of Appeal, and 5 of them are implicated in corruption. We have 44 judges of the High Court, 18 of them implicated in corruption. We have 254 magistrates, 82 of them implicated in corruption. So going by these figures, it seems that the magistrates are the places where corruption is least likely to happen. At the same time, there's one magistrate per 115,000 people, right? And the highest percentage of people implicated in corruption was the highest court in the land at that time. The highest court in the land. So I think you get, people are wise. They're not going for the corrupt people at, let's say, the magistrates, the lower cases, where the lower cases are had. They are going to where the final verdict is. And that's where people feel most that corruption is, around there. Anyway, most of the judges, 23 were the High Court judges and the Court of Appeal judges. 23 were implicated. 8 fought the charges. 15 said they let it go. They let it go. They didn't go to fight the charges. They just let it go. You can say that they let it go because they didn't want to be disturbed, or perhaps they didn't want certain stuff to come out. Of those who fought it, one Court of Appeal judge and one judge of the High Court were exonerated. And then the executive dropped a charge by another. The executive dropped an inquiry into one of the judges. I didn't get the name of that judge, but the executive dropped an inquiry into a judge. I wonder why. So anyway, why is judicial corruption so dangerous? Why is it so dangerous? Why is it so bad? Number one, it's because it's invisible. You cannot see it. That's the problem with it. Unlike you can actually see a conductor going to bribe a police officer, a traffic police officer, but you cannot see. Nobody would have even thought that a $2 million bribe to a judge, Supreme Court judge, would have been possible until Geoffrey Kiplagat said his piece, until he said what he felt was true. Nobody would have thought that. Recently, another judge was arrested. I think it was the Deputy Chief Justice. She was arrested for corruption-related scandals. Who would have ever thought? Why is it invisible? It's invisible because, one, we all depend on it. And if we move against judges, they might move against us, right? Because they are the final arbiter. Let me give an example. The media might push as much as it wants against the judges. And here's what happened to the media in September 2016. There's a lady justice, her name was Abu Rili. She awarded another justice. There's a lady justice who awarded another justice 26 million Kenyan shillings against the Standard over a headline. Right? And perhaps that judgment was okay, perhaps it was not. But it gives you an idea of what judges can do. This is 26 million against Standard Group. Another 20 million was against Nation Media. A judge, lady justice this another judge, right? So do you really expect that the media will fight the judiciary as much as it ought to fight? Again, perhaps this judgment was right, but at the same time it gives an idea of what can happen. Okay, another thing. Lawyers, can they really fight the judiciary when they will bring their cases before that judge? Can they really fight it? Another point is that we have this, we believe that judges are learned. We believe that they are wise. And at the end of the day, we have some level of complacency and we let things go. We believe that when you go there, this person has read, this person knows the law, this person knows how to argue. We do not see that things could be happening in the background. And a judge, the same way they can develop an argument, let's say a just argument, is the same way that they can defend an unjust argument, because it's all about words. Anyway, for an example, the Akashas say that they bribed, the Akashas say that they bribed a lot of people, and American police are actually looking for these people. They say they bribed a cabinet secretary, a governor, a top lawyer, a prosecutor, a senior detective, 2 judges. The Akashas say that they bribed 2 judges and 2 magistrates. And the US Department of Justice is looking for them. So anyway, just to finish, judicial corruption in Kenya is very bad, because what it does is that it prevents you from accessing some goods. Only those with power can access it, and that's justice. You cannot access it. If your fight is over to access some kind of resource, let's say the police did this to you, and you go there and you say, I demand my rights, the police should do this, then you cannot find it, right? When you are on the road and somebody has road rage and comes after you, you cannot go to court and access the justice that you're supposed to access, because they can just bribe, right? And then what corruption does to the economy is that it's those who are willing and able to bribe will move ahead in life. Like let me give an example. If we remember the Josephine Kabura story, she was able to set up a high number of businesses and get contracts in just one day. We are here waiting forever to get those contracts for the youth. They never come. And eventually, when things come to light that things are not done properly, then a recourse of these people would be to bribe judges, and then the cases go underground. So anyway, I think this is the last point. There's a sense of the way we interact changes when it comes to when judges are corrupt. It changes completely, because Kenyans have this attitude: what will you do if they do this? What will you do when they do this to you? And that attitude usually comes from the fact that they know that if you go forward, it is too expensive for you to hire a lawyer. Again, if you're able to hire a lawyer, bribing a judge is also possible. So again, it's the money that matters, not the merit of your case. And that's why, and it goes down. Even the police know, and it's when the road starts from the top, it always goes down. And that's why even in the streets, people, that's a question that Kenyans will always ask you: what will you do? What can you do? Do you know who I am? It's never that, yes, what is your problem? What is the merit of your case? Yeah? Are you sure that you're right? It's never that way, right? It's the other way around. Another problem is institutional inertia. We will never go anywhere as long as we have corrupt judges. Police reforms will not work. Because here we can put on paper the police are reformed. At the end of the day, a police can fight, and still there's a time that I think it was Kidero, he was able to block the EACC from investigating him. How can you block an institution from investigating you? How? Right? You can block them from accessing certain documents and certain kind of things, but how can you stop them from investigating you? How they do it is a bit different, but stopping them from investigating is a bit different. Again, there are barriers every time to judges, and that's what happened with the Akashas, and that's why they were able to stay for so long without facing justice, because they could bribe a judge. And remember that saying, why hire a lawyer when you can bribe a judge? And then so that's I think I wanted to do it first today, and that's what I had for judicial corruption in Kenya today. An even bigger problem is judicial activism in Kenya, and I'll do that in future. I hope that this video has been informative. Sorry for the interruption. Hopefully everything will be good next time. I will see you on Monday at 5 p.m. Give me ideas, give me topics, please. Good day.